welcome to The Burnout, the show where we tackle the problems in education one solution at a time. I'm your host, Kendria Johnson, and we look forward to helping you beat the burnout. And welcome to another episode of The Burnout. I'm your host, Kendria Johnson. I am your teacher coach. I make good teachers great by bringing them out of burnout back into a balanced life. And on today's show, I have a friend of mine. He's actually a friend of a friend. We met through another friend, a mutual friend of ours. And he is a lecturer at a university. I'll let him introduce himself later. But he's one of those guys where when you meet him, you feel like you've known him forever. So I feel like that about you, Ed. I do. I feel like I call him Ed, but his official title is like Edward Hogshire. So welcome, Mr. Hogshire. How are you today?
Thank you for having me. I'm
Yes.
doing well.
Tell us what you do, how long you've
All
been
right.
doing it, and how you show up in the world, and how you find what you do, and how you enjoy what you do. Share with us what it is that brings you magic every day.
Sure. I'm a lecturer at
Mhm.
a federal university here in the United States of Emirates.
Mhm.
I've been here for 18 years,
Mm.
working in tertiary education.
Right.
I've worked only for the federal government,
Mhm.
several different capacities, but mostly as an English teacher,
Yeah.
teaching ESL style stuff. I'm also the coordinator for the IELTS Center at our university.
Okay.
I've been the coordinator for people of determination centers.
Mhm.
Um, I have coordinated programs and been team leader of several smaller kind of divisions inside of larger programs.
Okay.
I was Teacher of the Year, HCT 2007.
Okay.
Um, I
Woo-hoo.
I've been published in a couple of different journals.
Okay.
The biggest one being Facebook in the Classroom and the TESOL International Conference, which is the big deal.
Okay.
But I've kind of that's what I do. I teach
Mhm.
English and I try to make it fun and
Right.
engaging. I train teachers for ADEC on Saturdays. I haven't done it in a while, but I've been all over the country,
Mhm.
everywhere from the Ras Al Khaimah jail to
Okay.
Mohammed bin Zayed's palace. I've been on pretty much everywhere you could imagine. Um, and it's taken me in a really fun, interesting route.
Interesting route.
Um, yeah, and I'm an enthusiastic teacher. I love to teach. I love what I do.
Good. I'm glad you're on my show then. I'm glad you're here saying that you love to teach, because some of the things we talk about on the burnout is the challenges in education. And I want to hear from you. What are some of the challenges you've seen in 18 years of being here, 18 years abroad, just general? Because I tell people all the time, listen, kids are kids all over the world. Teaching is teaching all over the world. So some of the same issues that I had in the States, and I've been here, and not 18, but I've been here 8. But some of the issues that I had in the States, I still see here. And so one of the reasons I started this conversation with different educators is I want to get your take on what you think some of the issues are. So share with us some of the challenges. Some of the what things, what makes your life, not so great, and then what do you do about it? What are some of the options or the outlets that you have to decompress or solve some of those issues? Ed, tell us.
I think it's just generally speaking, the students are not interested with what we're showing them,
Hmm.
and we've got to make it interesting. That's our game. That's our job.
Yeah.
It's hard, and that takes a lot of work. It'd be a lot easier if what we were teaching them, they could find an immediate connection to life with,
Hmm.
and they don't. They don't connect, and that's a problem.
Gotcha. So lack of what I hear is lack of interest in what we do, and then that real world connection. So
And
how would you think about something that you've taught in your classroom that where you had this problem? How did you tackle it? For listeners out there who might be having that same problem, how would you tackle it?
yeah, and what I do every single class, and I think a lot of other teachers do it as well. I'm a rarity in that I do it at the university level, but I
Hmm.
create competition inside the classroom
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
And it doesn't just make it better for the students,
Hmm.
it makes it fun for me. I
Yeah.
enjoy watching it and guiding it, and I'm laughing the whole time. And it's fun. And
Yeah.
if you don't make the learning experience fun, then you fail.
Yeah.
And especially with people that are under the age of 20.
Yeah.
It's just there's too much out there that is fun. There are too many bright lights and too many fun things to do, and it's their goal. And you can do that. You can make it
Mhm.
fun and still have it be a great learning experience. It
Mhm.
just kind of takes a mixing pot. It's
Mhm.
you always got to have dessert, and as long as you have dessert at the end of that lesson, they're gonna think it's fun. It's a fun class.
Cool. That means like a payoff. I hear what you're saying. You're like saying a payoff, something where they benefit from it and they see the payoff in it. I'm going to tell you a story, Ed, and then I want you to tell me a story. Okay.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
speaking on competition, I also like competition in my classroom. I create those. I make it like, oh, if I were you, I'd be studying for this Jeopardy quiz next week. So one year I had Elite. Elite is like the AP, what you would consider AP, advanced class.
Cool.
And there was this one girl who always won the competitions. It would be quizzes or Jeopardy, anything we did, she was always at the top. So the other girls got angry and said, Miss, it's not fair. You need to take her out of the competition. I said, oh no, this is real life. I said, it is your responsibility to beat her. I'm not taking her out of the competition. If she wins everything every single day for the rest of the year, so be it. Your job is to go home and study so you can beat her one day. And they did. 3 weeks later, they started to beat her. She started to lose. She started to get second place and third place, and eventually she got beat. She got beat down, or she got beat. And I was like, see? And then the girl that kept winning was like, "Miss, I don't even want to play." I said, no, you got to keep playing. This is life, y'all. This is real
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
That is
Competition,
what you have
right?
to learn. You have to learn how to compete against somebody who you think you've already decided that at the beginning of the year they were thinking, well, she's smarter than me. I said, no, she's not. Y'all in the same class. Figure it out. Go study. You got it next week. You got a whole week to figure it out. And so that is something that I use to connect what you said, real life, and the payoff was you get to beat her. And they
Yeah.
loved it. The idea of them beating her was like, ha, I'm number one now. That was a sense of accomplishment for them. So,
You bet.
you have any
Yeah.
stories like that connects what you do? Because I believe you're a fun teacher. I do. I believe that with all my heart and soul. But
And
give
my
me an
classes are
idea.
fun. My classes are fun. I
Yeah.
have a different game in that I have adults,
Hmm.
but they're 18 to 19. They're kind of playing a different way.
Hmm.
But I'll bring Kahoot into it, and they're kind of like, "Oh,
Yeah.
come on, how can you do Kahoot?"
Hmm.
The problem I have is the cheating, and you can actually cheat. I had a student come up. He could not speak a word of English. I'm not sure how he got into university. He had WASTA, and he failed out. But before he did, he won about 10 Kahoot games simply by standing up on the back of the desk and watching the best student in the class and hitting the green or red button before whatever color it was before the best student could touch it. He'd beat him to it as his finger would move towards the button. But yeah, in general, I think competition is everything, and it's kind of lost in
Yeah.
today's educational world as we're trying to handhold the weaker students. And
Yeah.
the reality is, as long as you don't make it the center of the whole class, and as long as you pay attention to the weaker students, they in themselves have their own competition and that they want to participate and be there.
Yeah.
I don't think it forces out people. And if, as
Mhm.
long as you're making the activities fun and engaging, it helps.
Okay, so tell us, and I agree with everything you said, and he's right. My invisible audience, he is right. If you come into my classroom, there's going to be a game at the end of my classes, no matter what, and they look forward to it and they love to see me coming because they think Miss Kendra's fun, right? So I'm sure they
Yes,
think Mr. Ed's
they
class
do.
is fun. Um, Tell us about if you had your own school,
Mm,
Hogshire University, what
mm.
would that look like?
That's a good point. A good question. It'd be full of dyslexic kids.
Mm.
Um, it'd be full of dyslexic kids and kids with learning disabilities that were
Hmm.
intelligent and struggled to code language or struggled to articulate ways that made sense in an academic setting. And it'd be very small with lots and lots of support.
Mm.
Um, and it'd probably produce some of the most brilliant students in the world because those people that can work through their disabilities are as smart as they come.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. I have a grandbaby that's been diagnosed as autistic, but she's smart as a whip, but she just has a learning, she just learns differently, and
Yeah.
I get to be the witness to that journey on the other end of it. Normally as a teacher we see it, but we don't go home with it. Now I get to see that from my own perspective. Give us an idea of the most, okay, we've talked about the kids. Is there anything that the schools can do differently? If you could
There's a
change,
lot.
you had a magic wand and you could change. I know but we only got 15 minutes. If you had a magic wand and you could eliminate something, I said eliminate, that's not a word. Eliminate something, maybe bring something in, what would that do? What would you do with that magic wand about something? I know what mine would be, but let me hear yours first.
So one of the biggest problems any classroom has going K through 12 is the disruptive student and the groups of them, especially in areas where that are underfunded, and that individual student is disruptive and is a problem for a reason, and it's almost always a boy. And I would focus on the problems with most boys in education. Boys are getting left behind. And I feel like, yeah, the girls, I understand the glass ceiling and all that's true. But inside of K through 12 education, it's much less true at the university level. But K through 12, I feel like everything is designed to sit there, to sit down and write, sit down and do stuff. And boys don't like to sit down. Boys like to move and boys like to touch. And you got to set up the school so that they can do that and make it so they move around and are out of their seats and are talking and moving and engaging with physical activity, because that's what boys like to do. And then once you get them enthusiastic about school and they get them into the later years, you're not going to have those disruptive classrooms.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to do it exactly. I think maybe separating boys and girls when they're younger, actually, kind of the reverse to how they do it here.
Yeah.
But keeping, it's just they're just a different entity.
Yeah.
I know when I worked at DISD, where we both came from, I had two boys that just drove me nuts, and I couldn't get class going the way it should have been.
Yeah.
And that's because those kids couldn't get the attention that I should have been able to give them.
Yeah.
And they never got to learn in like a kinetic way. They never got to learn in a way that would have helped them. One of them was brilliant kid, Matthew Duran. I'll never forget him. He was super smart, but he caused so many problems in my class every day just because that was more fun.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
And I didn't know how to handle them at the time. Now I think 20 years later, I could probably do a much better job. But yeah, I would make it more kinetic learning, and I would focus on getting those problems out of the classroom so that teachers can really get focused on the learning part of it.
And we can talk about that all day, because my ideas are very simple. We have now what we call, we've been through the pandemic, so we know things can be done online. And so some of those students that, just don't work well with others could do their work online, and then they can come to school and do labs. There's flexible ways to be able to teach now, but the system doesn't allow it. Doesn't allow for it anymore. It just doesn't. They're not capable to be able to handle those things that you're talking about. Being able to just pull those students out, not label them SCN or special ed or special needs, but just have them, separated from the group, learn a different way, then put back into the group. That'd be so much easier. But no one wants to have that model. Too much work.
Too much money.
Yeah, too much work, too much money. Yep.
That's the problem. Society's not putting enough money into our kids.
No. Now that's a whole nother show. Yeah, that's a whole nother show about society. We just talked about the kids and the system. You're talking about society. That's a whole nother thing, because you're talking about which society. Ours, the one we live in here, or the one back home?
Both, but yeah.
Yeah, both. Yeah. So is there anything else you want to share with us as we close?
Nope.
Is there any
That's all. Thank you for having me.
Come on, Ed. You don't have anything else you want to share with the audience?
No.
Is there any way to get in contact with you, or do you have any social handles that they can contact you with if someone wanted to call you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at Mudaris Tamam.
Okay.
That means
I'll spell that at the bottom somewhere. Yeah, I'll spell that at the bottom for them.
Excellent teacher.
It means excellent teacher in Arabic.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And I've got a TikTok video with 40,000 views.
You have to share that.
I'm gonna have to share that. No.
You have to share that.
It's just me dancing around the classroom the whole time.
Come on, man. You can't just tease that in an interview and then not share it.
I'll send it to you.
Okay, thank you. Well, that's going to
You
do it
bet.
for us today, Mr. Ed. Thank you so much for coming on my show, Mr. Hogshire. I'm sorry, a professional because we are friends, but thank you so much for coming on my show. And remember, that, guys, the burnout is where we teach teachers how to revitalize their purpose, reprogram their passion, and regain their power. That's going to do it for me today.
Bye.
Bye.